Good evening, everyone. It's good to see everybody tonight and welcome to your Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, the Unified Government Board of Commissioners meeting. Today is January 30th, 2025. Before I call this meeting to order, I want to announce that some commissioner staff and the public are attending remotely via Zoom, by phone, or on site. I ask that all participants, including those in the audience joining by phone, should please mute their phones at this time when not speaking to avoid any background noise. During the meeting, please make sure that if you're allowed to, that you announce yourself by name and title every time you speak, so that the public that is observing knows exactly who is speaking. This is also so the clerk can memorialize that information for record. This is critical given the number of remote participants and is current guidance from the Kansas Attorney General's office. If public comments are allowed at any time during the meeting, comments should be limited to the topic and scope of that item and that item only. Per the expectations of this body, disorderly conduct of any nature will not be tolerated, and I will enforce the rules of decorum for this meeting. I will now call this meeting to order. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Ramirez,
Here.
Hill,
Here.
Kane,
Here.
Lopez,
Here.
Stites,
Here.
Davis,
Here.
Bynum. Here. Burrows.
Here.
Townsend. Here. Burns.
Here.
Garner.
Here. I will start off by acknowledging Chaplain George Kemper. I see him over there in the corner. He will be giving our invocation tonight. He's with Ebenezer Ministries. He's also part of the Fire and Police Chaplains Association here that works for the Unified Government. I'll ask him to come forward. And as he leads us into prayer, I'll ask everyone to please stand, and immediately after that, we will have the pledge of allegiance.
Shall we bow our heads? Heavenly Father, as we gather today for this commission meeting, we humbly ask for your guidance and wisdom. May our discussions be marked by respect and understanding and a genuine desire to serve the needs of our community. Grant us the courage to speak truth with compassion, to listen attentively to diverse reasonings, and to make decisions and reflect on good character. We pray the unity for this purpose that we are here today, to work together to build a better future for all. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. Allegiance to the flag of the States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk, thank you, Chaplain Kemper. Before I start off, I want to recognize our Sergeant at Arms. She's sitting there in front of you, and you want to announce your name?
Shanae Davis.
Ms. Davis is the first female of color to successfully graduate from the prestigious FBI National Academy. Let's recognize her and give her a round. We're proud of you, Ms. Davis. It's been a long time coming, but well-deserved. I know hard-earned, and we're proud of you. Thank you. Clerk, are there any revisions to tonight's agenda?
There are no revisions.
That takes us to the mayor's agenda and proclamations. Clerk, how many proclamations do we have?
We have 2 proclamations this evening.
Can you name those for me?
Our first proclamation. Now therefore, I, Tyrone Garner, Mayor, CEO, the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim January 20, 2025 as Martin Luther King Jr. Committee Day in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Thank you. And the next one, Clerk, can you read it in its entirety, please?
Proclamation. Whereas Michael Rebo gave Terry Gray her first job in Indian Springs Flower Boutique in 1972, married in September of 74, and on September 24, 2024, celebrated their 50th wedding anniversary. And whereas in December of 1974, they bought Casix Flowers located at 44 South 7th Street, Kansas City, Kansas. And whereas in 1980, they purchased their current building at 1900 Central Avenue, Kansas City, and renamed the shop to Michael's Heritage Florist. And whereas they started a family and raised 3 children, Gretchen, Matthew, and Justin, who all helped in the flower shop. Currently, Gretchen and her son Ian play an active role in the daily operations of the business. And whereas family involvement, customer loyalty, and treating customers like family have been the driving force in their success, as well as a diverse community of customers who have become family. And whereas Michael, Terry, and Gretchen Kelly all have an active part in the daily operations of the business in ensuring a quality product and great customer service, doing what they love, creating beautiful designs for all occasions, and being a cornerstone on Central Avenue. And whereas the Rebo and Kelly families are proud to have served the community for the past 50 years, they plan on continuing here in Kansas City, Kansas, and take pride in growing their business at 1900 Central Avenue in Kansas City, Kansas, celebrating the past and embracing the future. And whereas Michael Rebo continues to work designing flowers as one of his favorite things to do and is entering his 75th year of life on January 29, 2025, Terry continues to design and manage the family business and has entered her 70th year of life on September 24th, 2025. Now therefore, I, Tyrone Garner, Mayor, CEO of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, do hereby proclaim Friday, January 29th, 2025 as Michael's Heritage Florist Day in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Thank you, Clerk. And we've got them here with us today. I'm going to ask the at-larges to come down. We'd like to recognize you. If you come forward.
Go that way. Perfect. Wow, good.
I want to thank the mayor and the commissioners this evening for this honor. Little did Terry and I know 50 years ago that something like this would happen. It means the world to us. We love Kansas City, Kansas, and we're going to be around as long as the good Lord lets us. So thank you all very much.
Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say to the family, you've helped my family in multiple ways, always when we were grieving. And it's a blessing to have you in the community. That's a terrible time. We're so lucky to have people like you here in Wyandotte County doing the really hard work to keep a small business open. And I just can't thank you enough for what you do for Wyandotte County. Thank you.
Sorry about that. Commissioner Burns.
Yes, I can attest to the fact that they are wonderful citizens. We're very lucky to have them in Wyandotte County. They have a wonderful shop and they have a good family, and I just can't say enough good things about them. I've known them for many, many years, and it's an honor to do so. Congratulations.
Thank you, Commissioners, especially recently with the Central Avenue booming and everything helping. We definitely appreciate and know we see you behind the scenes helping us too and being our voice. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
Thank you. All right. Thank you so much. And if you want to hear more about their story, you can go to the Mayor Garner's Facebook page where they were recognized as being one of the spots in the dots tour recipients, and they give you a quick tour of their facility and talk a little more about their background and why Wyandotte County is such a great place, not only to live and work, but to do business. And really it comes down to, they just love the people here. So thank you for your years of commitment to Wyandotte County and Kansas City, Kansas, and congratulations. That takes us to the next part. We have two distinct parts to our meeting. The planning and zoning portion will be handled following by the regular commission meeting. Clerk, if you could please read the statement as required by state law governing the planning and zoning portion of our meeting, followed by the items on the planning and zoning consent agenda.
Good evening. We would like to welcome all present to this meeting of the Unified Government Commission. Members of the commission are Mayor CEO Tyrone Garner, Commissioner Melissa Bynum, At-Large District 1, Commissioner Tom Burrows, At-Large District 2, Commissioner Gail Townsend, District 1, Commissioner Bill Burns, District 2, Commissioner Christian Ramirez, District 3, Commissioner Evelyn Hill, District 4, Commissioner Mike Kane, District 5, Commissioner Phil Lopez, District 6, Commissioner Chuck Stites, District 7, and Commissioner Andrew Davis, District 8. As each petition is called, all persons for or against will be given the opportunity to express their views. If this is the first time that a particular petition has been before the commission has three options. 1, it can approve the recommendation of the Planning Commission with 6 votes. 2, it can override the Planning Commission's recommendation, but it would take 8 votes to override. 3, it can return the matter to the Planning Commission for further consideration, together with a statement specifying the reasons for the referral back to the Planning Commission. The consent agenda is the first part of the Planning and Zoning agenda. Items on the consent agenda have received a unanimous vote of recommendation by the Planning Commission. Unless there is a request to set aside an item from the consent agenda by the applicant, a member of the public, the Unified Government Commission, or others, then the Planning Commission's recommendation on all of the items on the consent agenda will be adopted by the Unified Government Commission at one time. I will read the list of agenda items on the consent agenda, and when I have completed the list, the mayor will ask if there are any requests to set aside items from the consent agenda. This is your time to come to the microphone and provide the agenda item to be set aside if you do not agree with the Planning Commission's recommendation. If you're joining us virtually, this is your time to raise your hand, and once acknowledged, provide the agenda item to be set aside. If you contacted the UG Clerk's office, that item will be set aside by the UG Clerk on your behalf. If an item is set aside, the matter will be discussed and voted on separately. All items not set aside will be approved with the Planning Commission's recommendation. We appreciate the attendance of those people here this evening, and we recognize the importance of each petition. We would, however, remind you that there are a number of items on the agenda, and we would appreciate your efforts to make your remarks as concise as possible. We ask that anyone with a cell phone, please turn them off or switch to non-audio so you will not disturb the meeting. If joining us virtually or by phone, we ask that you mute your phone when not speaking to avoid background noise so you will not disturb the meeting. Once the petitioners make their presentation, anyone for or against will be allowed the maximum 3 minutes to state their views. As you come to the microphone, please state your name and city for the record if attending in person. This is also your time to raise your hand if you're joining us virtually. When your name is called, please state your name and city for the record. The mayor and commission are required to disclose contacts with proponents or opponents on any item on the planning and zoning agenda. At this time, does any member of the commission wish to disclose any contact with proponents or opponents on any item on the agenda?
Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you. I have had contact with opponents of consent agenda item B 8.2 SP 2024-094.
Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you. I have had contact with proponents and opponents of item SP 2024-094.
Are there any other disclosures? Seeing none. Madam Clerk.
I will now read the items on the consent agenda. Change of zone applications. Item A 8.1, COZ 2024-036, Tim Winkler. Change of zone from CP2 Planned General Business District to CP3 Planned Commercial District to operate a landscape company at 7301 State Avenue. Recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0. Item A 8.2, COZ 2024-037, Josh and Jenna Berline with 4J Enterprises LLC. Change of zone from C-0 non-retail business district to CP-1 Plan Limited Business District for a legal non-conforming mixed-use building at 8010 Parallel Parkway, recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0. Item A 8.3, COZ 2024-038, Kalen Calawart, change of zone from R1B Single Family District to RP5 Planned Apartment District to convert a non-conforming duplex into a triplex at 4000 Adams Street, recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0 for change of zone to R2B Two-Family District. Item A 8.4, COZ 2024-039, Stefan Alcorn with Rosedale Apartments LLC. Change of zone from R1B Single Family District to R2B Two-Family District for 3 legal non-conforming duplexes at 4209, 4211, and 4213 Adams Street, recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0. Special use permits. Item B 8.1, SP 2024-061, Jesus Osuega. Special use permit for an event space at 735 Minnesota Avenue, recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0 for 2 years. Item B 8.2, SP 2024-094, Tamara McConnell with Breathe Beverage. Special use permit for a drinking establishment with events at 2724 North 13th Street, recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0 for 2 years. Item B 8.3, SP 2024-095, Ruben Rosales. Special use permit for continuation of a short-term rental at 2924 Eaton Street, recommended for denial by a vote of 8-0. Item B 8.4, SP 2024-101, Nick Christensen. Special use permit for continuation of operation of a youth nature center with a campground at 2640 Woodin Avenue, recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0 for 2 years. Item B 8.5, SP 2024-108, Jason Husey, special use permit for an earth and fill at 732 North 57th Street, recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0 for 1 year. Section C, Master Plan Amendment Application. Item C 8.1, MPL 2024-014, Josh and Jenna Berline with 4J Enterprises LLC. Master Plan Amendment from Low Density Residential to Mixed Use at 8010 Parallel Parkway, recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0. Item D 8.1, an ordinance rezoning property at 810 North 10th Street, 1007 Armstrong Avenue, and 1013 Armstrong Avenue from R1B Single Family District to RP2 Planned Two-Family District, recommended for approval. Item D 8.2, an ordinance rezoning property at 621 North 17th Street from R1B Single Family District to R2B Two-Family District, recommended for approval. Item D 8.3, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for continuation of a short-term rental at 535 Central Avenue, recommended for approval. Item D 8.4, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for continuation of a short-term rental at 2520 North 131st Street, recommended for approval. Item D 8.5, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for continuation of a short-term rental at 419 North 6th Street, recommended for approval. Item D 8.6, an ordinance authorizing a special use permit for operation of an emergency group home and event space at 901 North 8th Street, recommended for approval. This represents all of the items on the consent agenda.
It's not his district.
Why is it under a different name and other address?
Madam Clerk, if I may, I'd like to make a disclosure I missed on my form, if I may.
Yes,
B 8.2, that's SP 2024-094, opponents.
thank you.
Okay. Does any member of the commission or the county commissioner, the public wish to set aside any item on the planning and zoning consent agenda? If an item is not set aside, all items on the planning and zoning consent agenda will be voted on by one vote to follow the recommendation of the planning commission.
Yeah.
We do have a hand online, please.
We have a hand raised, Candy Leonard Caldwell. You'll need to unmute and state your name and city of residence and identify the item you wish to set aside.
Good evening, Candy Leonard Caldwell, Kansas City, Kansas. Item SP 2024-094.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. My question will go to legal for parliamentary inquiry. I just have a question on application. Do I still have to pull it off if I just have a question?
Yes.
Yes. Then I'll just leave my question and I'll ask planning staff on an after. Thank you.
Commissioner Lopez.
I need to hold over the SP 2024-108.
B 8.5. B 8.5, 2024-108. Yeah, okay. Thank you. Just wanted to make clarification. Madam Clerk, you had that, right?
I do, thank you.
Okay. Is there anyone in attendance who would like to set anything aside? Let the record show no one step forward.
Move for approval for all remaining items.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please call roll.
Roll call, Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend, Burns.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right. Madam Clerk, if I remember correctly, our first set aside was SP 2024-094.
That is correct.
Thank you. I'll ask staff to make some opening remarks.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor Pro Tem. Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Urban Design. First and foremost, I'd just like to say happy birthday to Gracie Hestia. SP 2024-094 was remanded back by the Board of Commissioners to the City Planning Commission to talk to the neighborhood group, which they did. The SUP is a request for a drinking establishment, event space, and live entertainment. Again, this is a existing use, new owner, so they did have to come back in and get a new special use permit accordingly. This is in the Northeast Area Plan. Staff received both support and opposition related to this case. There are some older notices of violations that have been rectified previously on this property. So old notices of violations. Staff agrees with the Planning Commission's recommendation of approval for 2 years with conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Hand. I'll ask the applicant or representative to present their application. If you're here, please state your name and address for the record, please.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Tamara McConnell. Address is 2724 North 13th Street, Kansas City, Kansas. Our proposed use for the space is a sports bar and grill. We do operate Thursday through Monday with the hours of 4:30 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. We were remanded back to the Planning Commission to ask that we obtain parking permit or permission from our neighbors, which we have from the Northeast Development Corporation, obtain permission to use their lot, which is to the north of us with approximately 14 spaces. We've also obtained a parking permit from our neighbor to the west of us, that's Ford's Barbershop, with parking spaces for about 6 to be parked at. We've got permission to use that parking space. We were also remanded back for our hours of operation during the week, which in consideration of our neighbors and respect of them, for consideration, we are ready to bring forth hours of operation for weekdays, changing from 4:30 PM to midnight. We are a sports bar and grill on that corner that operates and services the community. Not only do we provide food, but we provide beverages, both non-alcohol and alcohol. We house televisions of about 12, pool table. We don't do a lot of live entertainment. So for the most part, our entertainment is a jukebox or Friday and Saturday, a DJ. As far as events, we do those based on a request approval. So those events usually happen Friday and Saturday from the hours of 4 to 10 PM. So those are the only times we look for any outside entertainment to possibly take place. We have been in business and serving that corner for the past 2 years with a variety of ages. We do service families. And so because we're a grill, children are able to come into the establishment as well as those of the age of 21. And we have patrons all the way up to the age of 84. So we just propose that we are still able to use the space for that use with the recommendation of us changing the weekday hours, the hours that we are looking to get approval for moving in the next 2 years would be the 4:30 PM to the midnight on Monday, Thursday, and Sunday.
Thank you, Ms. McConnell. I would ask that if that's into your entry presentation, if you'll just have a seat in the front row and I'll open up public hearing. Okay, thank you. I will now open the public hearing and ask clerk if any direct notification from the public who wish to express their comments in favor of this item were received.
No comments were received.
Thank you. Is there anyone present who would like to speak in favor of this item? If so, please come to the podium and state your name and address for the record. You will be given up to 3 minutes to state your comments. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is Sinitra Hampton Monk. I'm a resident at 3224 North 109th Place in Kansas City, Kansas. I, like many others in our community, have found refuge and support in an unlikely place. Breathe Beverage, also known as Q13 Sports Bar and Grill, located at 2724 North 13th Street. This establishment isn't just a bar and grill. For me, it provided a safe haven during one of the most challenging times of my life, when I lost my entire home to a fire. Breathe Beverage was the only local institution that reached out to assist my family, providing us with food, clothing, my apologies. That just happened to me on December the 6th. But I have been a patron of Q13 Sports Bar and Grills the entire time that they've been open. They assisted us in providing us with food, clothing, financial assistance, and most importantly, a sense of community and a place to retreat from the stress. This establishment feeds the community. During the holidays, they host events for children and has made its mission to be a supporting pillar in Wyandotte County. Their special use permit for drinking establishment needs full commission approval to continue operating. Denying their operation would not just lose a charming local business, but much needed support for the community that is difficult to replace. I urge the commission to seek and see value that this particular establishment provides, thank you, to the individuals and families of Wyandotte County. Please let's preserve the embodiment of community spirit, support, and resilience. And I pled to individuals in the community who could not make it to this meeting. If anybody lives in the Piper community, I travel 20 to 25 minutes to come to this place. My son works for General Motors at night, and this is the only place that he can receive fresh food when he gets off of work.
1 minute remaining.
Pardon me?
1 minute remaining.
Thank you. They have been there in the time of need. It is a family environment. My 7-year-old has played pool with the individuals that they say are 85 years old. They have spent time with my children. because I do want my children to know that everybody doesn't live like them, but there are people in the community who care. I do think it unfair that if all of the other establishments have the ability to be open at a certain amount of time, they should also have the same flexibility. And they should also be able to compete with their competitors, because without income, they would not be able to do the things that they did for my family. I appreciate Q13 Sports Bar and Grill, and I plead to the commission to give them what they have asked for. They are just taking over a business that was there for 40 years prior to, and they are keeping that going and having a place the other establishments do not have an environment where children can go. So I'm asking.
Your
that you
time has
consider
expired.
the information. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And please know many of us are thinking of you and your family. Is there anyone else present that would like to speak in favor of this project?
Good evening. Cedric Patton, 3202 Farrell, Kansas City, Kansas. There's not much more I can say following the young lady that just stated what she said. But, you know, I've been patronizing that establishment since they've been open. Mondays and Thursdays, football night, basketball nights, we have a great time there. There's not much negative that anybody can say. Yeah, parking is a little whatever, but you know, there's street parking. Now that we got the permits from the establishments next door, I think that'll improve better. And I'd just like to invite all of you to just come out one time and see what goes on at Q13 and have some chicken wings and some fries, onion rings. You know, the food is excellent. So, you know, and I'm a neighborhood group to the president to the neighborhood next door to the one that she's in. So, you know, I'd like to patronize the local bars, neighborhood establishments. So I would just encourage all of you to please approve Q13's establishment. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Patton. Anyone else present care to speak in favor of this item?
My name is Michael Berry. I take 2 or 3 meals a week.
Name and address, please.
The food is good. I like the sports atmosphere there. I am a sports fan, and I am in support of them getting their permit. I just want you to know I'm in full support. I find myself to really enjoy myself there. And I just thank them, and thank you for listening.
Could you give your name and address, please?
Yes, sir. My name is Michael Berry, 7415 Armstrong Avenue, Kansas City, Kansas, 66112.
Thank you, Ms. Berry. Is there anyone else present that would like to speak in favor of this item? Please come forward.
My name is Wanda Shannon. I live in Blue Springs, Missouri. And I frequent the club sometimes. And it's got excellent food. We've always had a good time when we go there, and drink much because of the drive, but we have a wonderful time when we go there. And I'm thinking that they're really uplifting the corner. You know, 13th Street's been down for a long time. And I just think it's good that he's there. They're trying to make a difference. Thank you.
Thank you. Please come forward if you want to speak in favor. If there's someone else that wants to speak up, please come up front row and be seated.
How you doing? My name is Javon Baker, 2200 North 11th Street, Kansas City, Kansas. I just want to say that I think that what the Q13 and Bree Beverages is doing on 13th and Quindale is a great thing. It uplifts the community. It's exactly what the community needs, you know, surviving food and having a great event space and just bringing it back to life and bringing it back on what she's doing for the community and the kids there. Also, you know, I'd like to say that, you know, since it's been, you know, an entertainment thing in that community for so long, that it's well needed there. And I thank you. I appreciate your time.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Is there anyone else who was present care to speak to this item? Let the record show no one else step forward. Is there anyone joining us virtually who would like to speak in favor of this item? If so, please raise your hand to be acknowledged. Once acknowledged, you may state your name and address for the record. You'll be given up to 3 minutes.
No hands are raised.
Thank you. I'll ask the clerk if there was any notification from the public who wish to express their comments in opposition to this item.
No comments were received.
Is there anyone present who would like to speak in opposition to this item? If so, please come to the podium, state your name and address for the record. You will be given up to 3 minutes to state your comments. Let the record show no one stepped forward. Is there anyone joining us virtually who would like to speak in opposition to this item? If so, please raise your hand to be acknowledged. Once acknowledged, you may state your name and address for the record. You'll be given up to 3 minutes to state your comments.
We have 2 hands raised online.
Thank you.
First one is from Candy Leonard Caldwell. Go ahead.
Good evening. I would like to thank the commissioners and the mayor for this opportunity to voice my neighborhood organization's opposition. Candy Leonard Caldwell, Kansas City, Kansas, president of Organization for Community Preservation, otherwise known as OCP. Our first concern are the hours of operation. I would like the owner to be mindful that you are in a dense residential area, and the hours of operation will there be security provided. Also, our second concern would be parking. That is a dense area on the southwest corner of 13th Street. Again, the parking is an issue. When there are events there, the traffic is very congested. It's hard getting down the street. The cars are parked on both sides of the street. At times, you have to wait till the patrons finish their conversations from car to car before you can pass. My third concern is the service of alcohol. It is a restaurant environment with children. Our organization may not have too much of a say about that, but that is a concern of the organization. Also, I would like to state incidents of violence and shooting at that establishment under previous owners. Also, the noise. Again, take in mind that this is a dense residential area. Also, the increased traffic, vehicles, foot traffic. Also, I would like to state that during the upcoming Super Bowl and the events, there's even greater parking issues and traffic. Lastly, I would like to say that our organization envisions a better future for our community, including the opportunity to attract potential developers who can help build more housing and enriching the business. I would respectfully ask, would you welcome a sports bar and grill in your neighborhood? Thank you for considering OCP community's concern. Respectfully, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Caldwell. Madam Clerk, next person.
The next hand raised is from Camille Caldwell. You'll need to unmute, please. Ms. Caldwell? There we go. Ms. Caldwell, you'll need to unmute.
Am I unmuted?
Go ahead.
Good evening, Camille Caldwell, Kansas City, Kansas, around the same area of the sports bar and grill. And I'm speaking for the neighborhood organization and the elders of the community that live in that vicinity, because it is a dense block. So there have been a lot of situations where those in that vicinity and our neighborhood organization, former PTA mom, hears about it. So we're concerned about our elders that live in that neighborhood, because it's not a business. And when these things go on, they live here. They're on their couch when shootings occur and things of that nature. They're They don't get to pack up and go home. It's not a business for us. We live here. So I'm speaking for those people, and we're concerned about the liquor at that certain hour when things get crazy and those shootings and those things happen, and the increase of violence in our neighborhoods when we're here. So thanks for you guys' time. That's what we have to say.
Thank you, Ms. Caldwell. If there's no other hands raised, Madam Clerk.
No other hands raised at this time.
Thank you. I will now close the public hearing. Would the petitioner like to make any closing comments? Ms. McConnell?
The only other comments I have are in reference to the density of my business and the other businesses in our district as far as residents go. In respect of our neighbors, we are open to adjusting our hours of operation. We do understand that sometimes people can linger after you close your business, going to their cars and having conversations. In respect of parking, those parking spaces that we have now the opportunity to utilize, we will encourage our patrons to use those spaces outside of the street parking. And in respect to the interest of if we provide security, our establishment does provide security both from Kansas City, Kansas Police Department off-duty police and private security companies. We've also equipped our establishment with metal detectors. We do not allow any firearms or weapons into our establishment. Anything that is taking place on 13th and Quindaro, I don't personally feel is a reflection of my business. The business that I conduct is professional, respectable. We know, we like, and we have a trust relationship with our patrons. And so what I'd like to say is, for the past 60 years, that building has stood on the corner of 13th and Quindaro as a drinking establishment. And we have just come back to show that we want to bring life back to our community. We want a place where our friends and our family and those visiting our city can be proud of coming and enjoying. We offer a variety of services, not just alcohol. We offer things for people who don't drink alcohol. We offer food. We offer a place to unwind after a long day at work. And so in closing, I just ask that you recognize us as a place in the community that is trying to build and not take away from 13th and Quindaro. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. McConnell. I'll ask the members of the commission if they have any questions or comments. Commissioner Burns.
Yes. It is apparent to me that the applicant has done everything asked of her to get this far. She is not responsible for what the prior owner may or may not have done. That's not fair. This has gone back to the planning and it's back here. I just think, well, I'm going to make a motion to approve.
Excuse me, please, before we accept the motion, Commissioner Townsend does have a comment. Commissioner Townsend.
Thank you. I would like to thank both the applicant, Ms. McConnell, and also OCP president for doing as I asked them to do, which was to meet with me and with each other to try to see if there is some medium that could be achieved. And if there is, neither one may be totally happy. I appreciate that I've heard good food, that's great, but I've also heard some things that give me pause based on the fact we've had some very serious actions, including unlawful use of a weapon, discharge of a firearm, and aggravated battery. on or about April the 29th of 2023 and on February 26th of 2023, criminal damage, aggravated battery, use of a deadly weapon. As someone already made the comment, and you can see from those who have spoken tonight, there are a lot of people who appreciate this bar and patronize it who do not live in that neighborhood. And I have to consider those who live in that neighborhood and don't have anywhere else to go after the bar is closed. I'm also taking into consideration that there is a light business in a similarly situated area off of Fifth and Troop, John's Java and Jazz, with hours that are much less and to date have had no incidents of violence. So I disagree that there's no connection. Something is going on up here. And even before this application, police were often called to that area. As we try to develop 13th and Quindaro through 18th and Quindaro, these are things we have to consider. Will people who want to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars for a home or apartment feel they are living in an area that is safe? That is a paramount consideration for me. So if there's going to be a continuation of a business there, I, for one, would like to see the hours adjusted so that they are just like John's Java and Jazz. And that would mean at no time there would be any business done after midnight. That is more akin to what other restaurants are doing in an area that is a close residential community. So I would like to see some accommodation made, but I would not recommend that there be any hours on any day beyond 12, because that's similar to what's already going on in a light community. Also, I did hear from the owner of the barber shop. There should be no parking whatsoever. That should be part of this on his property or anything in front of his property that blocks access. There's a half moon driveway that opens and closes to the street. So no patrons from the club should be blocking that at any time. And that could be monitored by the security of the place. That would be reasonable, not to impinge upon the other business. So I would like to see if this can be accommodated for a year to see, because I've heard testimony from the patrons here that there are kids there. That would be a tragedy beyond measure for anyone to get shot or be endangered, let alone a young child. So that's what my thoughts are on this at the present time. And that would take into account concerns of the neighborhood, but I could not, in good conscience, support it outside of those boundaries. And I thank Ms. McConnell for offering some reduction in the hours previously, but I would not support it beyond 12 o'clock on any night. That is similar to what is happening off of Fifth and Troop in similar circumstance.
Commissioner Davis?
There you go. Thank you. So first off, thank you so much, and to all of you for coming out. Thank you so much for what you do for the community and being willing to invest. It is a really, really difficult time for a lot of business owners to keep up with all of the demands, taxes, fees, everything else, employees. And so thank you for investing in our community. I do have some questions, ma'am, if you could approach the microphone. So are you a resident here in Wyandotte County?
I am 2000 North 67th Street, Kansas City, Kansas 66104.
Okay, gotcha. So you do live here, not necessarily in the area, but you do live here. You are local,
Yes.
which is great. Again, thank you. What year did you assume ownership?
2023.
2023. Okay, gotcha. And then the issues that are being brought forth, because some of these violations do kind of overlap. The use of unlawful weapon and discharge of a firearm. Were these situations happening within the context of your business, or did it just happen on the property?
They did not happen within my business. And for the most part of those incidents, I would not have known if people from the outside had not told me because I was inside. And so I didn't hear it, I didn't see it, but had not people come in and say, maybe you should call, or someone has called, or there are officers present outside, I wouldn't have known that any of those incidents happened. No, none of those incidents have happened inside of my establishment. In the parking lots or on the streets, I cannot witness to it either because I was not out there. I was inside running my business when those incidents occurred.
Thank you. That's very helpful. When these incidents did happen, was there an action plan or anything that you all did to react to that, whether it's cameras, lighting, or was there anything that you were able to do to try to prevent it or at least work with our local law enforcement?
Yes, so we have added additional lighting to both sides of our building. We did have sidewalk seating for our patrons. We removed that with the hope that our patrons would enjoy the inside of our establishment and not congregate outside as much. And so we removed those tables for the outside seating and the cigarette butts. Unfortunately, we are a sports bar. People do smoke, but to try and keep that activity from the front of the business down, we moved those things in hopes that we would get our patrons inside. Again, there's more than just us on that corner.
Absolutely.
And so there are numerous people that are outside that area all the time, and we cannot police the area. We cannot ask our security to secure the lots and the street and the spaces across from us. But we do ask our patrons, if you are doing business with Q13, that you are inside of our business and you are patronizing us inside because that is where the business is taking place.
Thank you so much. That's very, very helpful. I do have some questions just for our staff. Mr. Hand, if you will indulge me very, very quickly. I'm looking at the recommendations from the Planning Commission, and I just want to get some clarity on hours of operation. Right now, I have it that it is all live entertainment shall end no later than 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. No entertainment shall occur any other night of the week. Now, that's different than hours of operation. So can you just help me delineate between hours of operation and what that is for this SUP and then the hours for entertainment?
Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Design. So hours of operation for a drinking establishment are set by the state law. So they can, I think it closes at 2, last call at 1:30, I believe.
Okay.
If this commission wants to apply additional conditions related to its hours of operation, you can do that. The Planning Commission did not feel like they needed to do it for hours of operation, but they did want to specifically add something about the live entertainment, which is typically a louder use, right? And a greater potential disturbance to the neighborhood. So they added the condition related to, they related the condition related to the live entertainment. The hours of operation is an exhibit in the staff report, which is a part of the total recommendation. But if you wanted to specifically add conditions of approval, you could add them related to the hours of operation already stated, or to, for example, Commissioner Townsend's recommendation or some other recommendation. That would be a change to the Planning Commission's recommendation, which would require 8 votes to pass.
Okay. Thank you so much for indulging me. Thank you so much, ma'am, again, for investing in our community. I would be amenable to going forward with the motion, but Commissioner Townsend, if you had a amended motion that you wanted to make, I would also be all ears to hear that, but would love for us to move things forward. Thank you.
Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. I want to thank you for your continued service to the community. It shows that I'm sure these aren't the only patrons who would be able to come out tonight and speak their support for what you do. And one thing I would like, it's just uh, political correctness. I know that the word's been thrown, a club, it's a sports bar. There's a difference between a club and a sports bar. Different connotations when we think about it. I know there's the concern for safety and what has happened in the past of what past crimes have happened in the vicinity of Q13. But what happens outside does not reflect what happens on the inside. Doesn't reflect the mission and the heart of what this business has. As soon as they go out your establishment, that's not your responsibility. You do what you can to protect who's on the inside. As you said, you have metal detectors to ensure weapons do not come into the establishment. And I applaud you for that. You've taken the steps. You know what has happened in the past and what has happened on the outside. So you are taking steps to help the inside, to help keep the inside safe. For me, I wouldn't be amenable to changing hours of operation. It seems that this establishment, not yours, but has been there for years. And why fix something when it's not broken, in my opinion? And so I fully support the establishment and I thank you for what you've done. It shows in the woman who came before us and told us her story, and I sincerely apologize, and my thoughts and prayers are with you and your family as you continue to rebuild. But thank you for doing that. That shows what Wyandotte County is about. We're about building each other up and having that sense of community. So thank you.
Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. Captain Davis, it's outside of our normal behavior, but you are the individual who gathered some data for us. And so I'll be asking you, and you may not know offhand, but Ms. McConnell, I understood you to say you owned the sports bar in 2023. Is that correct?
I did not own, I leased the bar space from the previous owners.
Okay, you were operating the establishment for the
Yes.
calendar year of 2023?
Yeah, I was leasing the bar space, yes.
Okay, and so you've bought it now?
I have not, I am now co-owner of the building.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. I want very much for you to operate a successful business there, and I want very much for your patrons to be able to enjoy it. And I have a great deal of compassion for what you've done for this person in the community who lost their home in a fire. That's what community does. But I need Captain Davis to help me, if you can, because I heard you say any kind of disturbance took place outside, but in April of 23, 2 bar employees and a patron sustained non-life-threatening gunshot wounds. Do we have any information about, from a police department standpoint, about whether that took place indoors or outdoors? That concerns me a great deal.
I'm sorry, Commissioner, I do not, the report was pulled from our intel department, so they just gave us anything that was occurring at that business between the times that were requested. I can look further into it and try to get you an answer, but at this time I don't have one.
Okay, thank you. It concerns me to have 2 incidents of gunfire in 23 and another one where shots were fired in just September of last year. I don't expect you necessarily to be able to control that. But it's a concern. I cannot say that it isn't. And so I don't know what we do together to mitigate it. And I think maybe the closest I can come is agreeing with the hours of operation. So you've offered, as far as your compromise, I appreciate working on the parking. I appreciate meeting with the neighborhood. And you've said 4:30 to midnight on
Weekdays,
days.
which
But then for weekends, what would you be wanting till 2?
1:30, our liquor license allows us to serve to 1 AM with no more alcoholic beverages served after 1:30. So our patrons need to be out of the establishment by 1:30.
And if we asked you to go to a closing time of midnight every single night, what would that do?
It would unfortunately make us not as competitive with our surrounding businesses. In our district, there are, as Commissioner Townsend stated, John's Java Jazz, who operates Thursday, I think, through Saturday from something until midnight. We have Lounge 42, both operations in very dense communities with residentials in closer proximity than we have to ours, that are operating from the hours of 6 p.m. to 1:30 a.m. So to take us out of that would definitely not make us as competitive in an environment where we serve both food and beverages, as alcohol as well as non-alcohol. Along with that, there are other restaurants in our district. We have Texas Tom's Burger, open 24 hours. Texas Tom's, just the restaurant, open till 2 a.m. So those things, asking us to close at those hours, don't allow us to be as competitive in our industry.
And in your restaurant portion of your business, what time do you stop serving food?
On Friday and Saturday, we serve food up until 12:30.
Okay, so
Yes.
you serve food late
Yes,
into
we
the
serve,
night.
we serve late.
And I think I heard you say you have security on site.
We do.
Are they inside or outside or both? They go in and
usually
out?
will go in and out because if you have people waiting to come in, our door, it's winter. During the summer, we sometimes leave the door open, but winter, the doors are closed. And so when patrons come to enter the building, and they are asked to be ID'd, and then they look through, in ladies' purses, men get checked just because of, the nature of where we are.
Sure.
We want to make sure that nothing is coming in, and that could even be outside spirits, just making sure people don't bring things inside the establishment that are not allowed.
And what's your occupancy?
So unfortunately, I spoke with Commissioner Townsend in reference to our occupancy. When I took over ownership, I didn't have any records of what the occupancy was. We went to the Kansas City, Kansas Fire Department to get those records. They were not able to give us any information as far as our occupancy. However, we have had both from the city and the state our inspections, and they both were passed. So I thought that would be something they would have. They didn't. However, there was a fire chief that came out today to take pictures of our establishment. So I'm hoping that sometime within the next couple weeks or month, we will have what our occupancy is.
Okay. And just, it's not a big building. In general, how many do you?
About 80. That's
Okay,
about the
okay.
occupancy that we are comfortable with on the inside. And I did want to make one mention in reference to parking. Commissioner Townsend had said that our patrons should not be allowed to park on the barbershop's lot that's to the south side of us, Ford's Barbershop. I have obtained a parking permit from Mr. Ford in reference to us using his spaces when his business is not in operation. And so it has been signed and also notarized for us to take down to the deeds to have filed in reference to extra parking when his business is not in use.
Thank you. Appreciate it very
Thank you.
much.
Commissioner Townsend?
Thank you for that update, Ms. McConnell. That's not in the packet. And I'm glad you have communicated with him. So if Mr. Ford is okay with it, that's his business. I'm okay with it. Just so understandings are made clear, because that was not so clear before. So if he's good with it, I'm good with it. Let me say again, though, when businesses come before us, they have an obligation for what goes on not only inside their business, but in and out of their business, and particularly within a residential area. So while I appreciate that you want to see peace and quiet, as we all do, there is an element here that within a relatively short amount of time, used firearms. And since I have been on this commission, I have never had to act on a request for a sports bar with that kind of history. That to me is significant. I appreciate the good neighbor community-wise that you have been, testimony with the young lady who spoke tonight, and your participation in special days with the community. But there's, again, a balancing act that as a commissioner, we all have to do to protect people who live there and who are there all the time. And again, I know that most of the people who spoke tonight, in fact, all of them, did not live in that community. So again, your business is most similar to John's Java and Cafe with the hours that end at midnight. That is the recommendation that I would offer and would feel comfortable with, because again, we've got documentation that there has been violence in that area. Our goal is to revitalize Quindaro, and it will not be attractive to people that we want to attract to live there in developments, new housing to come and apartments with that safety factor. So I would ask that another motion be brought forward. If my colleague would either amend or withdraw his, I'd have to get direction on council for that.
Commissioner Townsend, I haven't accepted the motion because I wanted a chance for public discussion, but I will go back to Commissioner that made the motion as soon as the questions are finished.
Thank
to
you.
allow that individual an opportunity to speak. So I will now go to Commissioner Stikes if you have no more comments or questions.
Well, again, the timing I would offer again would be for those days that they operate nothing past midnight. Nothing past midnight.
So is that a motion or is that just a comment?
Well, it can be a motion, but again, there is a motion on the floor. So I'm
No,
asking.
there's no motion on the floor. I didn't recognize a motion.
Okay.
Because we were getting into discussion. I
Okay.
want to follow the agenda properly so that we can, we make the motions, we're able to get the clerk.
Well, if if it's appropriate to make a motion, I will make a motion that, is it appropriate to make one now?
I haven't asked for the motion
Okay,
yet,
then I'll hold.
but I will ask for a motion as soon as I get all of the comments out of the way from the
Then
committee.
I will withhold that and go forward with the comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Stites.
Commissioner Stites, District 7. It's confusing to me that we're sitting here debating on hours of operation for a bar that's been there for, 60 years. And why are we going to hamstring a business that's wanting to do the same thing that we allow on Central, we allow on Kansas Avenue, they're next to houses and to think, we can't control, you can't control. I don't know what more you could do to satisfy folks that you have security, you're making people known, I'm not in favor of altering your hours at all. You need to be successful. Ma'am, I feel for you. I had a house burned down Christmas Eve of 2020. I know what it's like. And you know what? You were able to go to a place, and I'm so glad that you sought refuge there and felt good. I I think you've done everything you can do. I hope you're successful. We talk about wanting to bring economic development to the north end. And then as soon as we got something in here, sure, this isn't the big fancy, sexy development that we're ultimately looking for down there, right? But we have to have everything. We have to have local bars. We have to have the big chain restaurants also. We have to have the grocery stores, the department stores, all those things have to come. And if we keep chopping off business at their knees, we're never going to thrive on the north end. So I'm in favor of the way it is submitted right now.
I will now go to Commissioner Burns, who made a motion. I would entertain a motion at this time.
Again, I make a motion to approve. She's done everything she can.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. I will go for discussion. Mayor.
I kind of fall in line. I'm big on safety. Most of you know my background. And I believe that as long as you're committed to the safety of the patrons and the surrounding community, and it sounds like you've taken that extra effort, I'm in line with Commissioner Stites in that regard. I have a question. There was live entertainment. We're cutting off live entertainment on the inside. Is that correct?
Gunner Hand, Director of Planning, and Design. Yeah, the condition of approval related to live entertainment hours is number 5. All live entertainment shall end no later than 10 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. No entertainment shall occur any other night of the week.
And
So live entertainment, again, as per our definition, is like a jukebox and above.
And why did you make that recommendation?
As it relates to the comments from the Board of Commissioners before remanding, and the Planning Commission made that recommendation.
Okay, and what was their basis for that?
Again, they were trying to listen to the concerns of the OCP and other neighborhoods related to nuisances. And so they felt that the live entertainment portion, which has a greater opportunity to be louder, could have more of a nuisance. So they wanted to.
And that brings my next question. Has anybody from staff or any of these committees gone to this club and actually stood outside at those hours, a sports bar, I'm sorry, and listened to see if there was noise pollution that would disturb the neighborhood? Has anybody from staff, and it's a question, or law enforcement? I mean, can you hear live entertainment from outside the club? That's the question. And was that question ever brought forward, and was that answered hopefully to the satisfaction throughout this process to those that have made these recommendations?
Every planner assigned to a case does a site visit of every site that we review, including this one. Those happen generally during the hours of business for the unified government, so it wasn't there while they were open. I have had multiple staff members attend and have dinner at the bar, and they didn't have any issues. So anecdotally, no, we didn't recognize any issues with live entertainment.
So there was no noise disturbance, pollution, or anything outside of the?
Not
that
from
could be
my
recognized.
staff's visits.
Okay. And then I just want to remind the commission that, I mean, I'm big on equity. And I agree with Commissioner Stites. What applies to one side of the community should also apply to every part of our community. We shouldn't have special criteria for folks in one part of town and a separate criteria from folks in any town. What applies for one should apply for all. And that's what equity means. And if we're true to about equity and empowering Black-owned businesses, if any other club chooses to close early, that's on them. But my personal opinion and my recommendation is that we try and stay true to equity in how we approve or disapprove these type of projects, because there is a perception over the years that this unified government has not acted equitably in how we deliver good services and resources and how decisions are made. And so I just want this commission to be aware of that. So thank you.
Yeah, we have a few more questions. Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Pro Tem. Very quick question to the the stipulation of the live entertainment ending at 10. If that wasn't in there, what would be the cutoff time? Would it be the time they end, their business closes?
Gunner Hand, Director of Planning and Design, it would be either what they wanted to shut it off at, which they noted in their other hours of operation as an exhibit in the staff. But yes, it would go till the business closes.
Okay, That was my only question. Thank you.
Commissioner Stites?
Stites District 7, I'll make this real quick. And it was brought up that none of the folks that spoke were immediately lived in the area. I think that's a good thing, right? We're getting OPM, other people's money outside this county. Come here and spend your dollars. I think that's great. We want those folks to come and travel and cross those county and state lines and spend their dollars here in Wyandotte County. Thank you.
Mayor?
This is my last comment. I just ask, all things considered, equity and all the things that I've already said, I'm not going to repeat it. The only thing that I would ask of the business, if this commission approves, is that you just take it to heart the concerns of the community and the commissioners, that you just constantly, it's a fluid thing. Look at your security apparatus and make sure you harden your security both inside and outside to the best of your ability. And I think that's the expectation of neighbors as well as anybody that's reasonable when you talk about these types of businesses, whether it be out west, south, northeast, downtown, or anywhere in between. Is just safety is always a concern for anyone. And there is that perception that we all have when you talk about these types of facilities when it comes to safety. So I just ask that if you are approved in whatever manner, just make safety your top priority.
Thank you. We do have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, I see no other questions. Please call roll.
Roll call. Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
No.
Burns.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you, committee. I will now relinquish this responsibility to the mayor. We are on this one right here. Second. Madam Clerk.
We'll take a 1-minute recess so I can reset and thank you.
Yeah, we're right here on this one. This one was pulled off by Commissioner Lovell. SP 2024-0108.
Was that?
And so 9-1. Bill's right there. There's usually none there. You're right. I'm not sure. What was that question?
It said it was in the environs of the entire city. I just didn't know landmarks had passed out. Okay. Perfect.
Sounds like. Have you seen those ones? They're old school. They've been there for a long time. There's some porn back here just waiting and introducing stuff. So hopefully
That was my own question.
yeah, it's they've submitted. We're working. Huh?
Hey, Gunner.
Oh, yeah, hey, sorry. Yep. Yeah, they're gonna ask you this week. Same as last time. They do it differently. I go first. And then you go second. Rest of the planning commission, you go first. I don't second. So that's the only difference. Oh, thank you. Sure.
Oh, no, I'm good. If you can start taking your seat, we will go back in session. 1 minute. While we're in transition, and I want to apologize, there was one proclamation that was not read. And so before we go back into our next part of our session, clerk, could you read that?
Proclamation, whereas Mount Pleasant Baptist Church was organized in Louisiana in 1864 with a group of faithful members who journeyed to Kansas by tugboat, pulled by a larger boat in search of better living conditions and new opportunities. And whereas after arriving in Kansas City, Kansas, the congregation settled at 3rd Street and began worshiping together. Years later, under the leadership of Pastor J.R. Richardson, the church embarked on a journey to rebuild its structure. And whereas in 1918, the construction of a round-top octagonal church began. Unfortunately, Pastor Richardson was unable to complete the project, and Reverend M.J. Smith was called as the new pastor. And whereas the church was completed in 1936, and at that time, the name was changed to Walnut Boulevard Missionary Baptist Church, reflecting its location on Walnut Boulevard in Kansas City, Kansas. And whereas the church has been blessed to be shepherded by the following dedicated pastors: Reverend J.R. Richardson, Reverend M.J. Smith, Reverend Charles H. Askew, Reverend Royal Scott Jr., and the current pastor, Reverend Sandy Ray Field Sr. Each pastor has faithfully preached and taught the Word of God, provided pastoral care, and led the church in evangelism, outreach, and the growth of ministry both within the congregation and in the broader community, locally, statewide, internationally. And whereas as members of Walnut Boulevard Missionary Baptist Church, we worship together as a community of believers, united in our faith in God, the Father, Jesus Christ, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And whereas on this 161st anniversary of the Walnut Boulevard Missionary Baptist Church, we stand as committed today as we were in 1864 to continue nurturing the faith of our members and sharing the gospel message with our surrounding neighborhoods and communities. And whereas as we celebrate this momentous milestone, we give thanks for all the blessings we have received and honor the faithfulness and commitment of those who have laid the foundation of this church, as well as those who have faithfully given of themselves over the past 161 years to ensure that the work of the church continues to grow and thrive. Still standing, still serving. Now therefore, I, Tyrone Garner, Mayor, CEO of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, proclaim Sunday, January 26, 2025, the 161st church anniversary of the Walnut Boulevard Missionary Baptist Church in Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas.
Congratulations. Myself and one of my advisors, Steve Williams, went to the church and actually presented the hard copy of the proclamation there. So it's not with us here tonight, but I did want to make sure that this was read and memorialized in the record of the unified government by our clerk. And I believe we have some members here. You talk 161 years. That is a monumental achievement for a church, any church, especially today, anywhere that you'd find in the nation. But we're proud that that this church has really lasted this long here in Kansas City, Kansas. So at this time, I believe that someone from the church might want to have a quick comment. And if you'd come forward, please.
Mr. Mayor and distinguished members of the council, I'm Bernie C. Hughes. I am a descendant of one of those pilgrims that came up here in 1874 on that riverboat. That was my grandmother at the age of 5. And I just want to say, by the grace and glory of God, we're still standing, and we give all glory and honor to God. And He has brought us a mighty, mighty long way. I stand here in the stead of our beloved pastor, Sandy Ray Fields, who wasn't able to be here today. So I just want to humbly say that thanks be to God, we're still standing, and God willing, we're going to keep on going into the future. Thank you.
Thank you for your words. And again, congratulations. We're so proud to have you in our community, and even more just ecstatic that the church has lasted that long. That is really a historical, monumental achievement for any church. So thank you again. That takes us, clerk, to a set aside. Can you read that in its entirety, please?
This is item B 8.5, SP 2024-108, Jason Hushey. Special use permit for an earthen fill at 732 North 57th Street, recommended for approval by a vote of 8-0 for 1 year.
Thank you, clerk. Staff, Strand?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Design. As the clerk noted, this is a special use permit for earth and fill. This would be the second SUP for earth and fill that this property would receive. The previous one was in 2021, I believe. This is in the planned KCK area in the Midtown neighborhood. Staff received no letters of support, no letters in opposition. There are no notices of violation associated with this property. Staff agrees with Planning Commission's recommendation of approval for 1 year with conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Hand. Is the applicant available?
I do not see him online.
Clerk, anyone online? Okay. Is there anyone present in the audience here today that would like to speak in favor of this item? Okay. Clerk, anyone joining us virtually would like to speak in favor of this item?
No hands are raised.
Clerk, have you received any notifications from the public who would like to speak in opposition of the item?
No comments received.
Is there anyone present who'd like to speak in opposition of this item? Clerk, is there anyone joining us virtually who'd like to speak in on this item?
No hands are raised.
Okay, I will now close the public hearing. I will reach out to the petitioner one more time for any closing remarks if they're available. Seeing none. Do any members of the commission have any comments? Okay. Do any commissioners have any comments? Commissioner Lopez.
Yeah, this isn't really what has my concern is not the address, what's going on, all that. But if you can pull up that picture on my pack, would be page 14. I don't know if if you have a.
Is it an exhibit or a picture?
It's a screenshot, an aerial screenshot. Keep going. Keep going, keep going. Keep going. Probably one, I think a couple more. No, keep going.
That's it.
Oh, then there's something thrown in our packet that we have that you don't.
The slides aren't necessarily all in the packet, sir.
I'm looking at it right now, and what I'm looking at is in District 6, Holiday Drive and Inland, way, way away from where this address is at. There's train tracks on this picture. There's no train tracks where the address is.
Yeah, I apologize. That's a mistake from staff. We can correct that for perpetuity. Again, it's just a map and exhibit that shows the zoning for context, and looks like this didn't get replaced out. So again,
Well, how did it just accidentally get slipped in there, or is that, I mean, because this is nowhere near, even for a reference, that's nowhere near. That's two different worlds here.
Understood, sir. Again, the slides show the appropriate zoning map, and so I apologize if that didn't show up appropriately in the staff report. We can correct that.
It just had my concern because I requested a stop work order just on the item I'm looking at and waiting to hear back from the federal game warden, which I think he's gonna be contacting you anyway on this, but that was just my concern. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Davis.
Mr. Han, you kind of went over all of the different criteria and requirements for this to be approved. And I'm looking at this, it was also approved and unanimously 8-0. I think we've cleared up that clerical error, which I think was just a tech issue. So I'm going to go ahead and move to approve.
Bynum, second.
Okay, before I accept those motions, is there any further comment? Seeing none, there is a motion and a second. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Stites, Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows, Townsend, Burns.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to the planning, zoning, non-consent agenda. Clerk, can you read the first item?
Special use permit application A 9.1 SP 2024-105 Brandon Thompson. Special use permit for a short-term rental at 6429 Leavenworth Road. Recommended for approval by a vote of 7-1 for 1 year.
Thank you, clerk. I'll ask the applicant or a representative to present the application. Available? I'm sorry, staff, can you make some opening remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Design. Again, this is a special use permit for a short-term rental, non-owner occupied. This operation has this business has been in operation since last spring. So they did come in by themselves into the cold once they realized they had needed a special use permit. This is in the planned KCK area, North Midtown neighborhood. Staff received no letters of support, no letters of opposition. There are no notices of violation associated with this property. Staff agrees with Planning Commission's recommendation for 1 year with conditions, a maximum 11 people on site, 5 cars off street. We are asking them to repair their driveway apron on their secondary drive to the south there.
Again, is the applicant or the representative available?
Their hand is raised.
Clerk.
We have a hand raised from Maya. You'll need to unmute. Go ahead.
Hello, commissioners and mayors. My name is Brandon Thompson. Please excuse me, this is our office managers. I need to update that. 6429 Leavenworth Road, and we are looking for final approval for our first short-term rental here in Wyandotte County. And we're excited. After 5 years of managing, owning, operating different short-term and long-term traditional rental properties, we're excited actually here. I grew up in Wyandotte. I love a lot of things that are happening here. It's a great place. We're not far from the Speedway, which is, the audience we're looking to attract from, different states. Also home fields, people travel. So we're looking to provide high quality, safe, secure travel places for those individuals traveling here to Wyandotte.
Thank you. I'll now open the public hearing. Clerk, have you received any notifications from the public who wish to express comments in favor of this item?
No comments received.
Is there anyone present in the audience who'd like to speak in favor of this item? Seeing none, clerk, is there anyone joining us virtually who would like to speak in favor of the item?
No hands are raised.
Clerk, have you received any notification from the public who wish to express their comments in opposition?
No comments received.
Is there anyone present who would like to speak in opposition of this item? Seeing none, is there anyone joining us virtually, clerk, that would like to speak in opposition of this item?
No hands are raised.
I'll close the public hearing. Petitioner, any closing comments you'd like to make? Petitioner, representative, any closing comments? Applicant, you're there?
Yes, I'm here. None at this time. We're excited to operate the way we need to with the correct permits for this first year. We do understand that there's a driveway concern that we will have addressed within the allotted time. And we're looking forward to moving forward. So no, sir, at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have questions from our commissioners. Commissioner Ramirez?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. My only question is, and Mr. Hand, you know, I ask that sometimes. I see that Planning Commissioner Ernst voted no. What was the commissioner's reasoning for the no?
You know, I'm unsure, to be honest. He asked several questions.
Petitioner, I'm sorry, that was for staff. Mr. Ham.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Design. Commissioner Ernst asked a few questions. He did not state his reason for denial.
Thank you.
Commissioner Davis?
Thank you. I did watch that portion of the meeting. This property is in the 8th District. I think the main concern was, and this was resolved, was Mr. Thompson, I guess in previous practices, had offered or advertised private gatherings or parties, right, at this Airbnb, at this short-term rental. That is not allowed under our current ordinances, and we communicated that to Mr. Thompson. Just want to make sure, Mr. Hand, was that included? Was that communicated? Is that included within this SUP as well? No parties?
Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Design. Yes, that's a standard condition for our short-term rentals. It's also in the ordinance.
Okay, so that was communicated. The other thing, Mr. Han, I understood watching that meeting that this particular short-term rental was operating, found out that we passed, right, some updated legislation, and they self-selected to identify themselves, communicate with staff, and get in compliance with our ordinance. Is that correct as well?
Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Design. Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
They
So
came in from the cold.
okay. So they kind of came out, said, hey, I want to make sure that I am in line with the current local ordinances. And that's good. I also spoke with Leavenworth Road Association representative from there. Although they were not able to meet with the applicant, they didn't have any major concerns or anything that would hold this up. I would express to you, Mr. Thompson, to do make an effort to meet with the neighborhood group, just because, again, that relationship is key. But there was no opposition or any issues that was raised in my conversation with Ms. Liu. So with that, I will go ahead and make a motion to approve, but I don't want to be out of order. So I will wait on that motion. Thank you.
Okay, any more comments from the commissioners? Seeing none, there's a motion and a second. I will accept that. Clerk, roll call.
I'm sorry, who made the second? Thank you. Roll call, Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane, Lopez,
No.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to our next item. It's period 2, special use permit 2024-109, Todd Huffman with the Dent and Detail Clinic. This item is a request for a special use permit for an auto repair and detailing. Staff, can you make some opening remarks?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Urban Design. Again, as noted, this is a special use permit for an auto body shop. This is a expired special use permit. The applicant thought they had a longer term of approval under their previous special use permit. As it is an expired permit, staff handled this as a new special use permit and not a continuation, so that it reflects in the recommended years of approval for this SUP. This is in the planned KCK area, the Turner neighborhood. Staff received no letters of support, no letters in opposition, excuse me. There were notices of violation for not having a special use permit to operate this use, which brought the applicant back in to apply. Staff agrees with Planning Commission, recommends approval for 2 years with conditions, including many of the carryover conditions from the previous special use permit, such as restriping the parking, repairing a parking lot, and replanting some of the required landscaping as noted in previous conditions.
Thank you, Mr. Han. Applicant, you can make your comments.
Hey, Mayor, Council, and staff, thank you for your time. My name is Todd Huffman, 5015 Gibbs Road, Kansas City, Kansas. I own Denton Detail Clinic. We've been in business for 25 to 30 years in Overland Park. We had an opportunity to buy the property in 2017, filed for a special use permit. We hired counsel to do it the first 2 times because had no idea what we were doing with a special use permit. Our business, we help families, school districts, police departments. We have a lot of wholesale and retail accounts. We've been blessed with great customers. When we bought the property, we filed for a special use permit. Staff had some requirements. We spent $150,000, $200,000 on the property. We have, filed for a special use permit and was granted in 2018. Filed and was granted for in 2020. We thought we requested a 5-year. Like I said, had hired counsel. It was only a 2-year. So that's why we didn't know. And as soon as we knew, we got up here and did it again. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Yep.
I'll now open the public hearing. Clerk, have you received any notifications from the public who wish to express their comment in favor of the item?
No comments received.
Is there anyone present who'd like to speak in favor of the item? Clerk, is there anyone joining us virtually who'd like to speak in favor of the item?
No hands are raised.
Clerk, have you received any notifications from the public who wish to express their comments in opposition of this item?
No comments received.
Is there anyone present who'd like to speak in opposition of the item? Clerk, is there anyone joining us virtually who'd like to speak in opposition of the item?
No hands are raised.
I'll close the public hearing. Petitioner, would you like to make some closing comments? Okay.
Yeah, we just appreciate your time. We'd like to continue doing business like we were. So thank you.
All right. Do any of the commissioners have any questions, comments? Commissioner Lopez?
Yes, sir. This is my district. I'm in your area. I've been in Turner all 48 years of my life. I know exactly what it is that. I'm a small business owner too, so I get it, but my main concern, because I'm all over the place all the time, but the vehicles that don't have tags, I mean, we got to have, there were probably a customers or somebody that left it or didn't pay their bill and just left their vehicle or whatever the reason is. But I know these vehicles have to have tags. But I just, hopefully you can get that remedied.
Well, we do a lot of wholesale counts, and if we leave dealer tags on them, sometimes those are taken if they're left outside. So we occasionally put them in the windows, but sometimes we take them inside. So
Right.
if there's a car that doesn't have a plate, it's probably a wholesale account.
Okay. And then, is it okay for me to ask a question for staff? Or is that you?
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
yeah. So staff, I have a question for you real quick. On here is an annual fireworks stands between 2017 and 24. That's in a residential area, correct?
Gunnar Hand, Director of Planning and Design. The property is zoned commercial.
It is zoned commercial. No, I understand that, but it is in a residential area.
It's a commercial node in a residential neighborhood, yes.
Yes. Well, I mean, there was okay. Well, I'm gonna ask it anyway. There was some people that were wanting to put a firecracker stand or fireworks stand, sorry, in an industrial, but they were told no because it's too close to residential. That it just boggles me. But anyway, that was just want to bring that up. But all right, thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Bynum?
Bynum at large 1, motion to approve.
Second.
All right, I will accept. There's a motion and a second. Clerk, roll call.
Oh, sorry.
Roll call. Ramirez?
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Stites, Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. That's the end of our planning and zoning portion of this agenda.
Thank you.
We'll now move to the regular portion of our agenda, and that takes us to the regular consent agenda. Do any members of the commissioner or county administrator wish to set aside any item on the regular consent agenda? If an item is not set aside, all items on the regular consent agenda will be voted on by one vote.
Move to approve all items as submitted.
I will accept that motion. Is there a second?
Bynum second.
There's a motion and a second. Clerk, roll call.
Roll call, Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
King,
Aye.
Lopez,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. That takes us to the administrator's agenda. We have one item, item number 13.1, resolution authorizes the county administrator to calculate certain new revenues. I'll allow the county administrator, Mr. David Johnson, to make opening comments.
Thank you, Mayor. During the last budget process, one of the items that you and the commission asked, are there any other strategies that we can develop to move for property tax relief or doing budget relief? And, you authorized us to resurrect a sunsetted ordinance, which was remove permit fees on development east of 55th Street. Last meeting, we passed taking the revenue of 50% of the revenue of any incentive like Star Bonds, TIF from previous year, and apply it to either I would recommend for your consideration to either debt relief or debt reduction or property tax relief for your consideration. And you pass that. And then it was suggested, let's look at another technique, and that is, can we take 10%, recommend 10% of any growth of residential or commercial development anywhere that's not exempted by any of our previous activities, that is recognized by any permits, and apply it to a recommended either debt relief or property tax relief. And that's the recommendation for this resolution for your consideration. Just another example of options that you asked us staff to bring forward to just try to contribute a way to provide relief to our taxpayers. And so that's what we're bringing to your consideration.
Thank you. Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to be clear and have clarity around the resolution. What it says is any new general fund revenue attributable to new residential and commercial buildings.
Yes.
And you said permit fees.
Well, that's how you recognize
So
that dollar amount.
Okay,
is
because
through-
I might interpret new revenue attributable to new residential or commercial to mean property taxes or sales tax that commercial building is collecting and remitting. And that's why I'm asking for the clarity. So do we need to clarify the resolution?
Well, that's probably a good idea.
Council wants to weigh in.
Yep, this is Wendy Green with legal. If you look under B, it says any new revenue in quotes. And any new revenue up top is defined of also in A. Any new revenue received in the city and county general funds respectively during the private budget year. And then any new revenue means certain general fund revenue derived from new residential commercial buildings. It could be clarified more, but the intent is that it's revenue generated from ad valorem taxes as described. That's what goes into the general funds. So it's ad valorem tax revenue, not permit revenue.
Okay, so it is property
It's
tax.
property tax revenue.
Okay.
That was the intent.
I'm going to ask the same question I asked last time we did this. Because if you adopt a revenue neutral budget, there is no new revenue. And we had the CFO, if you adopt in that year a revenue neutral budget, then you are collecting in property tax revenue the same amount as you did the year prior. So, and we had the CFO, I was online last time we did this, but we asked the CFO to come forward and clarify. I guess I'm just making a point.
That would be,
I think that she confirmed that you could not be revenue neutral and have this at the same time. So I would just ask for that clarity again. And so we don't mean permit fees in this resolution.
That is correct. And if I could clarify that point, if you did vote to not exceed the revenue neutral rate, you would have to have a corresponding decrease in the budget. So if you were saying you were not
Right.
going to increase your revenue neutral rate by using this new revenue, you would have to have a corresponding 10% decrease in your budget because you could not use that revenue. So if you want to use the same revenue that you
Correct.
brought in the year before, but take this new revenue to go straight to debt, to retire debt, you would have to vote to exceed the revenue neutral rate.
Thank you.
Commissioner Burrows.
Thank you. And Wendy, I believe I follow the concept that you're giving us. But if that 10% would be designated as revenue, because if we wanted to put it into reserves or if we wanted to move it into a department, it would still be part of the revenue package, revenue neutral package. It's
Right.
still the same amount of money. It's where that money goes. So it's not having to reduce the budget.
So you would have to reduce your budget because you would have to reduce your mills to not bring in any more additional revenue. So you could still say, we've got this new revenue here that we want to designate solely toward debt, which means other revenue that's not new revenue, you're not going to be using that revenue, which means you're going to have to decrease your mill levy to not bring in that other revenue as well.
Under that scenario, yes. Maybe I misunderstood when you talked about that if we went revenue neutral and wanted to take 10% of our revenue and put it towards tax reduction, we can do that. That's within the revenue neutral budget.
Absolutely, but if you specifically wanted to take that new revenue neutral. Oh, sorry, I'm trying to not make eye contact with you while I answer your question. If you wanted to take advantage of the new revenue, then you would have to decrease your budget by that same amount because you're going to have to decrease your mill levy to offset it so that you're not then using existing revenue that would have come in.
That would be correct. Now, I would just state to my colleagues that we wouldn't have to go revenue neutral if we have the courage to cut the mills and which would allow us to take in the new revenue. That's how this works. And if we have the courage to cut mills, I mean, we cut 8, I think, in revenue neutral, or a little more than 8 collectively in revenue neutral. If we had the courage to cut that without going revenue neutral, all new revenue we could use throughout the year. Then that doesn't count an increase in sales tax that we could use with revenue neutral because revenue neutral only applies to the property tax aspect. So any new revenue we had through sales tax, or user fees or anything along those lines, we could use. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ramirez.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm getting where we're going, but I think there still needs to be flesh this out. So I do think we should send it to Commissioner Burrow's standing committee so that his committee can do the work of fleshing it out, making sure we know exactly what's happening, what revenue actually is, and so that we have more clarity, so that you guys can do the work and then it brought back to us for full consideration. That is I'm not gonna make a motion, but it's a suggestion. Or I see other commissioners have thoughts and too, but so I'm not gonna make a motion just yet. It's just a suggestion.
This is Wendy Green with legal again. If I may, there is a way we could take the word permit out of it altogether. When the county appraiser reports the assessed values to the clerk's office, he does actually let the clerk know what is coming specifically from new builds. So we could define the new revenue without even using the word permit to make it less complicated. Of course, we found this out after the fact. I apologize.
New construction. Yeah, new construction.
Thank you, Council. Commissioner Davis.
Thank you, Mayor. So I was going to bring up the sales tax deal, so I appreciate Commissioner Burrows bringing that up as well. I do think it would be good for us to get an idea of what the impact would be to our budget, just so we have an idea of, along with the forecasting for our projected revenue increases, what would 10% of that look like? And what would the delivery of that be for the taxpayer? It might be, really, really good for us. And I think that's great. But if we find out that it's going to be much more or much less than we expect, we may want to actually see the numbers of just what the projected impact of this will be. I know that future commissions and later on in the year, we will make a decision on a lot of these things. But I do think it would be good practice that instead of just saying a blanket number, that we would get just some numbers in front of us for forecasting. So I do agree with my colleague, Commissioner Ramirez, of this going to standing committee so that this can be a little bit more refined, especially when we say new revenue. But won't make a motion now. I see there's some lighting up squares over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Lopez.
Would it be safe to say that if we had the audit when we were supposed to, we'd be more, it'd be more clear to us where we're at on the exceeding the revenue, we're not going revenue neutral, and what kind of money that we actually have coming in. And we're working on a budget from a year previous. We're working on a budget from an audit previous. And then we do our budget and, oh, by the way, we've got some money in the bank. All right. So that's all. That's just my comment on that. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Bynum.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor and Commissioners, I am not opposed to sending it to Economic Development and Finance. On the other hand, I'm not opposed to passing it tonight because what we're doing within this resolution is empowering the county administrator to make recommendations to us. So if we want more information on what that might look like in the future, we could still ask for that. But I don't think it precludes us from passing the resolution. I appreciate the concept and I appreciate what we're trying to do. So I guess with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you, Commissioner. I kind of side with, at the end of the day, you all are empowering the administrator to make that decision. When the budget is brought forward, all those questions, anything about that recommendation to you all, he's going to share that with you. And you all, just like last time when Commissioner Ramirez asked the question with the incentives, the 50%, the commission at that time can say yes or no. It's just, but as we go through our budget process every year, it's just another tool that you are giving our administrator to bring to you all during the budget process to say, this is a recommendation that can be a part of your budget to bring about tax relief that so many of our residents have talked about, and the administrator and staff have really come up with some good creative ways to try and either reduce our debt or reduce property taxes. If you reduce the debt in a way, I think the administrator talked about it, that has a way of translating into property tax reductions. This is a tool for the administrator, and a lot of these questions that you may have, the administrator is going to bring the answers to those questions as part of the budget process prior to any recommendations he would make for you all. So I do agree with Commissioner Bynum as well. Commissioner Davis.
So I see that this is just residential and commercial. I'm also thinking of industrial, right, which can also produce sales tax, right, property taxes. And currently how this reads, it would just be residential and commercial. So industrial would be out of it. So the question becomes, is it capturing all of the growth, and is it 10% of all of the growth, or should we kind of think through the wording here? But I only see residential and commercial here. So that was one of the reasons why I've been kind of pushing this towards maybe we send this back to committee just to kind of refine this, but we would be missing considerable growth. We do have some pretty large industrial buildings that do collect quite a bit in sales tax and property taxes. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Ramirez.
Well, I was going to make a motion to send back, but we still have Commissioner Bynum's motion on the floor. So I would say let's move on. Let's move forward with her motion, or
I'm willing to amend my motion or change my motion to send this back, send this to Economic Development and Finance to flesh out all of those concerns, and including, I think, the point Commissioner Davis is making about the industrial properties.
Commissioner Davis, second.
Okay, I'll accept both of those motions. Any further discussion? Clerk, roll call.
Roll call. Ramirez,
aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. This takes us to the Commissioner's agenda, item number 14.1, a travel request from Commissioner Ramirez to attend the National League of Cities Congressional Cities Conference for 2025 to gather information that can be of value to this commission, staff, as well as our community at large. Is there any discussion? Commissioner Bynum. There is a
Second.
motion. There's a second. Clerk, roll call.
Motion, Davis, second.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Can't hear you guys. Roll call. Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane,
Aye.
Lopez.
Aye.
Stites.
Aye.
Davis.
Aye.
Bynum.
Aye.
Burrows.
Aye.
Townsend.
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. There is no further business tonight before this governing body. I appreciate everybody's time and any comments that were made. I will now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Davis,
I'm sorry,
second.
but Commissioner Stites?
Yeah, I think if we all would just remember the folks that were involved in the plane crash, and that hopefully that the recovery of the bodies and they get them returned to their family members. So just remember them in your prayers.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Burns?
Yes. As a graduate of Wichita State University, I saw, in 1970 where the football team went down along with the staff and the head coach and everybody. It made a big impact to our friends in Wichita. And we need to keep them in mind too about how they're suffering today, even though it wasn't in their community where the crash was. But they'll still be affected. They're very good people down in Wichita.
Thank you. I'd just like to send a word of condolences on behalf of the Unified Government of Wyandotte County, Kansas City, Kansas, as well as sincere sympathies from all the folks here in Kansas City, Kansas, Bonner Springs, Edwardsville, and Lake Wavera, to anybody that's been impacted from this tragic incident originating from the great city of Wichita, Sedgwick County, that happened in Washington, D.C. Let's be sure to keep those families and those people that are navigating through this process, as well as those military service members who may have lost their lives and their families in our thoughts and our prayers. I'll now entertain a motion to adjourn.
Davis, second.
Okay, well, I guess clerk roll call.
Roll call, Ramirez,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kane, Lopez,
Aye.
Stites,
Aye.
Davis,
Get better, Dr. Hill. Aye.
Bynum,
Aye.
Burrows,
Aye.
Townsend,
Aye.
Burns.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.
Thank you. Everybody have a good evening.
Oh.